So anyways, okay. Well, thank you everybody for if you're tuning in again. We had some brief technical difficulties for the last, I don't know, 3 episodes that we've recorded since our first one. But with that being said, we think we've figured it all out. And so now we are going to just bless you with amazing content on a regular basis, right?
Yes, sir.
So this week, well, Mike's going to go over our topics real quick. We're going to be talking about.
So we're going to first start off with Trump has talked about like his day one initiatives, things that he wants to do as soon as he becomes president. And I wanted to bring them up to you guys and see which ones you guys agreed with, which ones you don't agree with. There's one I strongly do not agree with, and I'd like to talk about that with you guys. So that's what we're going to talk about first. And then we're going to talk about John wants to speak about the southern border and just some of January 1st attacks and how all that could play into each other.
Eve attack.
I'm huge on the southern border.
Yeah, I love it.
Yes, sir.
All righty.
Yes, sir.
Well, then let's
hear
your.
So here we go. So since day one, while he was on the campaign trail, Trump had talked about things that he's going to do as soon as he becomes president, right? And these were things he campaigned on. So some of them were he wanted to pardon all the January 6th attackers, insurgents, whatever you want to call them. He wanted to dismantle the deep state government workers. He wanted to impose tariffs on imported goods, roll back protections for transgendered students. He wanted to drill, settle the war between Russia and Ukraine, and mass deportations, right? And the one that I disagree with the most is the pardoning of the people that stormed the Congress on that day. So, we've done a couple podcasts, and if somebody breaks the law, they need to be held accountable. I'm big into, if you break the law, you go to jail. So I don't think it's right letting these people out early. That's how I feel. What do you guys think?
You want to go? You want to go?
Go ahead.
First and foremost, I do agree with you. At some point, yes, if you do break the law, there has to be repercussions. The part that I don't like is I feel that they have held these people to a higher standard, because if somebody was to break into your own home, I don't feel that they'd be held accountable to the standard that these people are. Some of these people are in jail or in prison for years far beyond what they should. If you break into somebody's home, I don't know what is just the typical jail time.
Well, it's like the degree of burglary, but like first degree versus second's like a year, and it's probably like 6 months in jail county. And then like burglary first is probably like 3 years.
But some of these people have been in there for that time plus some.
Yeah, I don't know
There are some people that have upwards of 20-ish years. Yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't burglary, whatever they were doing. I was telling you what your sentence would be for burglary. I don't know what their charges were exactly. I could look them up while you guys talk about but you're just saying that these guys are getting charged
excessively. I think they are. I think some of them are. I think some of them are being held on something that is more than just what happened. I think there's an MO behind it. I think there's a motive behind why. I don't know if they're trying to necessarily make a point with these people, like, hey, we're not going to put up with this. We need to protest and protest peacefully. Or is it just because these guys are right wing and the left was in there? And unfortunately, that's my train of thought anymore, just because I feel that this world we're divided.
I'd agree. Yeah. I have a similar take on it. I think that, if somebody did something severe, if somebody was, vandalizing things or threatening people, going to jail for a lengthy amount of time, 100% warranted. I do feel like there's people that were a part of that probably had every intention of being in something that was just an innocent protest of their rights or what are their feelings about how they felt about how the election went. And, it's one of those scenarios where I think that there's that good chance that you're in a big crowd and the crowd starts moving. And there's really not the safest thing to do sometimes is to move with it versus against it. And I do think that innocent people can kind of get caught into the mix of, okay, now we're going into the Capitol and not even know why. Like if you're far back enough in a crowd, you don't even know why you're moving sometimes. You know what I mean? Like the crowd's moving, you're at a concert, right? The crowd's moving. You're like, I don't even know why where are we going right now? And so next thing you know, you're inside and you're like, okay. And so, I do believe that there were some people that the intent was not there to be, to necessarily break into and put force their way into the Capitol. more just for innocent protests. And I think some of those people have, been wrongfully imprisoned in a sense for at least, it's one thing. Hey, look, you guys put the protest push past the boundaries. Everybody, everybody's getting locked up and going to the county jail for the night or for the weekend or whatever. And then, slap on the wrist and now you're back to your normal day to day. But everything was very, very severe for them. And, and the fact that I even get annoyed with the fact that it's called an insurrection, to be honest with you, because there's a lot of ways you could look at that. And and it's looked at a lot of different ways. And I don't believe it was one necessarily, as far as because they're going to say that Trump tried to, to spark it and everything like that. And I don't see.
I put in Trump is not the factor in this.
Well, I understand
We're setting.
I understand that, but the reason I bring him up is I do believe that the reason that some of these people hate Trump so much, and I do believe that because they feel like this was instigated by him, that there's even more of a harsh tone that is a harsher bomb that's dropped on these people, in my opinion, because they're aligned with him. Trump supporters, people are going to say Trump supporters, like throughout this last election, people on the news would even say, oh yeah, they're stupid and stuff like that. We can bring it up.
I'm just talking. No, I just want to talk about the people that broke the law.
Right.
By going into the Capitol.
Right. And
should not be let go. I don't, that's just the way I feel like.
So, yeah. So that's what I'm saying is that if there's people that are still there and they didn't have some charge against them that was, vastly criminal as far as destruction of property or threatening of an individual or something like that. If it's something like that and they're in prison for 10, 5, whatever years, whatever the punishment was, I can understand that. But I just don't feel like everybody that was there and ended up going into the Capitol was necessarily intentionally there for that to happen. And yes, they might have been a part of it, but I think that, like I've said before, if I was in a position to do something to prevent that from happening and I didn't do it, I would have to look at that as somewhat of my responsibility. And I feel like there was things that on that day that were requested to be put into play and that weren't put into play that could have prevented this from ever happening in the first place. And so as Trump, as an example, he probably feels like there's some responsibility there. He did request the National Guard.
We talked about this last week when we did this. Like, I don't understand why you think the National Guard being there, like how these people should be innocent because they weren't stopped to be in. They went in no matter what. Like, I don't get that part of it where you're trying to bring back like it's somebody else's fault that they did this. They went into the Capitol like that. They did that on their own. Like, it doesn't matter if there was
my point is there's a lot of gray area.
No, there's no gray area. They went into the Capitol.
There's videos of them being let in to the Capitol, right? And so my point to that is without being on the ground there, I don't know what'll happen there.
But we know they went in.
We know they went in, but we also have seen videos where they're actually letting them in. So,
but we also have seen videos where they're like
breaking them in that very moment right there.
Because there's hundreds of them. How can you versus like
the National Guard was there? They would have been able to control that situation. Is my point.
But okay, they went into
got out of hand because it was allowed to get out of hand. Is my point, right? And so it's the same thing as like if you're supposed to be, helping to watch a kid and something happens to the kid, you're responsible for that. That's somewhat of your responsibility. You know what I mean? And so my point is in that situation, there was things that could have been done as a government when they go, looks like there might be a potential protest here. Let's make sure that we can do everything to make sure this thing goes peacefully. Like that needs to be the mindset. And that wasn't the mindset, in my opinion, because if somebody's saying, hey, there's a chance that this might go south, I think we need a little bit more security here, then that should be there to prevent that from ever happening in the first place.
Okay, but it did go south.
Right.
And they did break into the Capitol.
Right.
So they did commit crime.
Because somebody decided that they didn't need security there.
So because we don't have enough cops, people commit crime. So now those people are innocent because we didn't have enough cops to stop them?
This is a different scenario, though. That's what I'm trying to tell you is that, like, you could have been there in that crowd, right? I know you wouldn't have been sitting there to defend for Trump, but you could have been there in that crowd, right? And so my point is say like you're in the crowd, right? And you're sitting there with your wife and you're protesting something and the crowd starts pushing you through, right? And you're like, where the hell is this going? I don't even know what's going on right now. And you're getting pushed through and next thing you know, the crowd's pushing through and you're inside the gate. And you're like, shit. And now there's a narrow gate. You can't even get out. Everybody's pushing in. So what are you going to do in that scenario? You're going to go, look, we got to just keep going with this flow. Nobody's saying, everybody's letting us in. Nobody's preventing this from happening. I guess let's just go with this flow. And what I'm saying is that if people didn't actually commit a crime other than
Going in
entering
is a
in
crime.
capital. I understand that, but why are they still in prison 5 years later?
How many people were there that day, do you think? How many people do you think were?
I don't know.
Because about 1,500 people have gone to jail.
Mhm.
So, and that's a small majority of how many are
That's not
small.
So what you're saying?
Dude, I thought there was like 50,000 people. Like he talked about how many
don't
people
know.
were at that rally. That's a lot of people.
I don't know how many people pushed their way through.
I mean, I don't think everybody just walked in, I think it was people that did, broke
I don't know.
windows.
I'm not going to speak on what I don't know.
So do you think?
I'm just saying I don't know.
So-
I don't know how many people were there.
Do you think he's going to go like a case by case thing?
I don't know.
Is it just going to
I'm not sure. It sounded like he was just going to let everybody out. I don't know.
Like-
Have you heard
I
anything?
don't
like
think
the mass deportation?
Yeah, he's like, I'm from day one.
Mass.
Yeah. But he does speak in hyperbole. There's a lot of
yeah, because I was going to say that even the mass deportation, we know that there is some levels to that, right?
Mhm.
There's not just like he's going after certain targets. It's definitely first, and then it's going to slowly go the other.
It's weird how this discussion is different from last week.
A little bit.
This is really different.
Last week was non-existence because we didn't post anything.
I know. I'm just
So stop talking about that. No, I mean it's not that much different. I feel like we're still arguing about the same, debating about the same thing. But yeah, so my opinion is, I don't feel like everybody, if people didn't do some severe crime, that they should still be in jail. If anybody that he's pardoning right now is somebody that has been in for a decent amount of time, and if that person committed actual crime, well, then I don't agree with them being pardoned. Like if it was besides just ending up inside the Capitol building, I do feel like that's a crime. I do feel like they could have went to jail, but I don't feel like they should still be in jail. And if they are still in jail for that crime of just going into the Capitol building during the protest, then I think that's definitely something that people could be released from jail from.
Yeah. There's probably levels of this, but I mean, he just says, I'm going to pardon everyone. Everyone's getting released.
Right.
So,
he says, "Oh yeah, I want to pardon the January 6th." Yeah, and I get it, but like I said, yeah, I do think there's levels, and we don't know what's going to happen until it gets there. But
I don't know. I just feel like if you were there that day, you tried to stop, what was going on inside that building. As soon as you breached the metal gates and forced your way in, you've committed a crime, and you helped other people commit a crime.
I understand that, but
when there's getaway drivers,
but it isn't a crime so severe they should still be in jail.
It's pretty severe. I mean, going in and stopping government from. Do you want to say something?
No, go ahead. I'll let you finish.
All right, stopping the certification of a election is probably one of the most important things that happen, right? Every 4 years, and if you're trying to stop that, that's pretty major, and you should go to jail for it.
I can understand that. I guess my question is when it comes to,
but were they ever going to actually stop it though?
They did stop. They paused it because people were running for the doors and hiding under chairs, and there was gunshots right outside the chamber. I mean, it was pretty severe. Did you guys watch that on January 6th?
I watched some of it, but I didn't watch. I didn't dive deep. I didn't go down the rabbit hole or nothing with it. I could see both sides here. I see your side. I see John's side. It's on John's behalf. It's they knew something was going to happen. That's why there's barriers put up, right? But then that's where they stop. That's like if I'm like, hey, I'm going to build a fence and I just put a 2x4 across. They can't hold nobody out.
But if it's peaceful, then you don't have to worry about that. Like you kept saying,
but
if
every protest is peaceful.
Well, then that's when you start breaking the law. When it's not peaceful.
But what's so peaceful about people marching onto a freeway?
Oh yeah, that's not peaceful, and I don't agree with it.
You know what I mean?
And they should go to jail.
You think every person that marches on the freeway is going to go to jail though?
Well, they should get arrested, but and then they should for impeding commerce, for impeding traffic.
So let's say 1,000 people walked onto a freeway, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let's say those 1,000 people now have to go in front of a judge. You're in the court system. How much time, effort, and money would that literally take away from actual? And I'm not saying that that's okay, but how much time would that take from legit crimes, a murder, a rape, a child molestation, like, a full-blown robbery, an assault? Like, how much time would it take and how much money? So at some point, to John's extent, I understand where he's saying, hey, look, if the National Guard they already assumed there's going to be something there. They put up barriers. But at that point, why don't you just reassure and bring something into where this doesn't happen? You know what I mean? Stop them before they get on the freeway. Hey, look, you guys, this is where the peaceful protest ends. We're here to stop you, but I'm just letting you know, if you continue down this, you are going to be arrested and you will be charged criminally. Like, I get that, but that wasn't there. They just put up some railing and said, hey, let's just stay behind this. And we talked about this before. This is where I feel that all these politicians and these lawmakers, they sit behind these closed doors and these walls, and they don't listen to the people. Why don't they grow some balls and come outside and say, hey, look, you guys, what do you guys have to say? I know not everybody can talk. Why are we here? What's going on? Let's listen to you. Is it going to change anything? Probably not, but the people are going to be hurt. We're going to go into this later, is going to be January 1. At some point, action has to be taken for people to be heard, right? And I feel that when these people are standing behind a wall, they just never feel heard. You know what I mean? That's like if you're in that room and we're in an argument, how would that work? I don't agree with you, Mike, but you're 2 rooms over. Until I actually open the door and you physically see me, I'm not saying that it's right for the people, but I'm saying that there needs to be something where people could actually be heard. But these peaceful protests, in my eyes, I think they're useless. And we're going to get together and,
well, I think you have to look back at,
well, I wanted to answer what he
go ahead.
So the people were being heard that day because they were certifying the election. All right. So
how are the people being hurt though?
The votes were the election was being certified by the votes that were cast.
But the people that were protesting were protesting because they didn't feel like that was a valid
what? I'm waiting for you.
That who was elected president, they didn't feel like it was a valid election.
Okay.
They thought that there was interference. So they were protesting it.
But they didn't, they were protesting, but it wasn't a protest after they breached the metal gates and went into the Capitol. I think we're arguing 2 different things.
No, we're not. We're saying you're saying that the voice is heard through the votes.
It is. Right? That's what the elected officials were doing at that time.
What we're saying is there's chatter out there. There's bits and pieces of evidence. There's things that have been shady around elections and everything, politics in general. And so the point that we're making is that the people felt, a large amount of people felt that the election was not true, was not a true election, and so they were protesting it. So the point is, you're saying, oh well, the votes are there, that's the voice. Well, no, no, it's not. If the people are sitting there protesting,
that small majority of people were there protesting.
Doesn't matter.
Millions of people voted, and the vote was done.
But it's still.
I mean, I can go up and just say right now that the vote is wrong,
but it's still your constituents.
Yeah,
and
that voted,
and they don't believe in what happened, and so they're protesting.
And
that's what our point is this:
mm-hmm.
You just want to ignore them. Want to ignore them. Yes, you do.
No,
if you're saying the votes have already been cast, you're not allowing there for there to be.
No, I'm answering Chuck's that the people have to go on and speak to the people that are protesting. They're doing their job. They're speaking for their constituents right now by certifying the vote. So that I'm answering his question about talking to the people.
Yeah, but do you
not talking to the people that are in front of you?
They don't, because they're doing their job. They're trying to certify an election. They're not going to stop what they're doing and then go talk to them. The people spoke. They voted. The vote was in. They were certifying the election.
The point. They don't feel like that was valid.
Okay, so then they breached. Okay, thank you. So they breached the Capitol and committed a crime. So they should stay in jail.
Okay.
So it's pretty simple with me. Like you commit a crime, you break the law, you stay in jail.
Okay. I feel like it's hypocritical, by the way.
How?
No,
I'm going to hit you. How is it hypocritical?
I'm going to hit you with it.
No, hit it right back. How is it hypocritical?
Because you're going to sit there and you're going to.
If you're in a car and somebody drives and hits somebody and kills somebody because you're in that car, does that make you guilty?
It happens a lot. I'm not. If you're a driver of the car,
so you're going to tell.
Oh no! Why would?
Well, then that's because that's what John's saying is if these people are just kind of flooding in, it's not like they actually picked up the rock and said we're preaching the Capitol today and threw a rock through the window. And yeah, now that person there
for sure
held accountable.
And I think that's what did happen. Like
when people are being pushed, like at a concert, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I brought that up. I don't think everybody that got pushed in went to jail. I'm talking about the 1,500 people that were sentenced to a crime and went to jail. I think they did more than just walked in. I mean, well, let's talk about the people that were pushing on that cop. And it
comes down to this though too. Like when I say that there should be, as look, take it down to like parents and children, right? Like as a parent, as the people that are supposed to be controlling this whole environment, right? I feel like if you don't take the proper steps to evaluate the situation that's in front of you, to make sure that that the outcome is the best possible outcome, the safest possible outcome, I feel like that's what I'm trying to tell you is I feel like that's where Trump feels responsible. That that there was a request for the National Guard, it was denied. Look,
how is Trump like? Why are you apologizing for the people by saying that there wasn't enough security? Like even if there was security, they would have found a way to get in.
Okay, say for example, you have a toddler, right? And you don't want him in the kitchen. So you stick up a small little barrier that's not even that great, but you put it up there and it's supposed to keep them out, right? And they get through and they burn themselves on the stove, right? And next thing you know, you're in the child's getting taken away from you because you didn't barricade it right, because you didn't take the efforts to actually put an actual gate that was actually securing that child from being able to get into that kitchen. Right? Everybody's children. My employees throughout my life, they've always been basically children. I treat them just like children. They whine just like children. They want things just like children. It is the reality of it. Everybody, it's the same scenario everywhere you go. So my point is, as a leader, you should take every possible step. It doesn't matter you should take every possible step to prevent things from happening. And when you don't, that's your responsibility. Granted, the person still got into trouble, right? And they can pay some prices for that. But my point is as a leader, when you're asking the question, I'm not trying to forgive Donald Trump or anything like that. When you're asking the question though, of he's pardoning these people and as to why, I'm telling you from a leader's perspective, if I feel like I didn't do everything to prevent my people from getting into harm's way or to prevent my people from getting hurt, I'm going to take responsibility for that. And that's going to be my bad. And so if I tried to request something and it was denied, then I'm going to go, okay, those people would never be there. If what I had requested was put into place, that level of violence would have never been able to happen. And that's my point. That's why I'm saying that I can understand why somebody might come in and say, I'm going to pardon these people because I feel like the fact that they even got in there in the first place was bullshit. I feel like the fact they even got put in there in the first place was almost allowed. Because at some point, if I say, "Hey, look, there might be an issue here. We need to have," I mean, same thing. It's the same thing with a bomber. Like if somebody says, "Hey, we have some intel that this might be bad," and then they're like, "I think we should have some extra security here," and they go, "Nah, no, we don't need extra security," and then the bomb goes off and kills 10,000 people. I guarantee you that there's going to be an issue that the person didn't actually put in more security there.
I've heard both ways, that one person asked for the National Guard and one person said no. Like that Pelosi said, but I never got like a clear answer to how that went. Have you like heard clearly how it went? Like, where did you hear that it was clearly?
I've heard multiple. I can even bring it up right now. I've heard multiple things on it.
Or maybe Dominic is over there with it.
Dominic can look it up. But yeah, I've heard many different.
So from what I'm hearing you say, Trump feels like he played something into these people going and there was not enough deterrent from them going forward. So he feels responsible that they went there.
He knew that. He's going to say, look, he believes that he was railroaded on the election, right?
Okay.
And so for him to go, hey, look, and then people believe.
Do you feel that election was 100% honest?
I don't know. I'm not sure, but I'm talking about what happened.
No, I know. Well,
I don't want to go down something else.
Though.
No, not. It's people that went. It's not.
Like
it's not.
I voted. I vote Republican, and it just seemed weird that ballots were being flooded. Look, I understand where things could trend one way and then turn around and trend the other way. It's like everything was on the up and up and up. Oh, go to sleep, wake up 5-6 hours later, and all of a sudden it was like the complete opposite.
That's how it goes. I mean, it's by districts and coming and being counted,
but then they're finding these ballots. They're finding people that are dead that are voting. They're finding
that happens all the time. I think there's always irregularities that happen in elections. So if I didn't believe in this election or the Trump being president right now, and I went and stormed into the Capitol, do you think I should go to jail and stay in jail?
There you go.
No.
Okay.
And where's that from? Dominic. Hold on. John's pulling up something right now.
There we go.
Okay. So somebody asked while the riots were going on for the National Guard.
Man.
She just said
It was
while it was going on. She said they asked for it
I
while it
understand
was
what
going
she's
on.
saying and that when she's getting recorded, yeah, but she's taking responsibility for it. She's taking responsibility because it was requested and she denied it.
But that's not what she just said. She just said
She's talking about the Capitol Police, and then she said went into the National Guard.
she said in the middle they asked for the National Guard. Where does it say that there was a discussion where they said, Nancy, should we have the National Guard before it all happened?
Okay, I'll bring it to you.
No, and to get back to your point, yes, I do think there's always these random things through an election. I just felt that it was just there was just some circumstances that were just like far fetched. You know what I mean?
So
there's been
It says a report on the riot authored by the House Republicans in 2002 found that Democratic leadership had concerns over the optics of having National Guard troops present at the Capitol building in the aftermath of the summer 2020 Black Lives Matter protests. Both the House and Senate Sergeant of Arms, as well as the Chief of Staff of Capitol Police, resigned in the days following the riot. So a spokesperson for Pelosi dismissed the video clip released by the House Republicans, accusing them of attempting to whitewash January 6th. It says numerous independent fact checkers have confirmed that Speaker Pelosi did not plan her own assassination.
what?
I don't know what that
What are we
about,
talking about?
but-
This is not making any sense to me.
From this is New York Post. Well, I mean, you could say that about everything. Let's be honest with you. But anyways, regardless, my point
Let's say that
to it is, and she's saying it right there. If you pay attention, you know there's going to be a protest. You have to do the things to make sure that things are you protect. Look, you could even flip it to the other side. If you don't want to say, okay, the National Guard should be present to stop people going in, well, the National Guard should be present to protect people inside then. To protect what you were saying is happening behind those doors and that it's so sacred, even if people believe it's true or not, that it actually was a true and fair election. Should the National Guard be there to protect people inside then? Does that hurt?
sure,
You
but
see what I'm saying? Like, and if they were there, then you wouldn't be in this, none of this would have happened. But
So,
my
but-
point too is I think they want it to happen. Look,
What?
you can't deny the fact that
they
will drag that people that over
who
the course
wanted
of
it
the
to
last
happen.
you can't deny the
Democrats.
fact of the last of the
Democrats wanted people to storm the
you can't deny that people there
Capitol?
has not been set
I
up
think so.
and of dragging Trump through the mud for the last 8, 10 years, 12 years.
No, I don't believe that.
Don't it's all it is crazy. It's definitely crazy. It's just as crazy as the fact that we paid the Taliban millions of dollars.
I feel it's like it's shifting blame.
No, it's not.
It literally is. Like I'm saying that
My point.
people that were there for Trump
Right.
were egged on by Democrats to do that. That doesn't make sense at all to me.
How does
How is it?
how does that not make sense to you?
So was there
So
Democrats that
for
are
the
like
4 years prior, Democrats just they sit there and it's MAGA this, the MAGA, and it's like they point everything at Republicans. They point everything at all these MAGA people, all these supporters, and everything else. And then all of a sudden they're there. There's really nothing really to hold them back, but just a barrier.
Yeah, because you guys even talked about peaceful protests. That's what that's all you
But
need when there's a free.
Protests don't happen. There was literally
So
something
you're
just
like,
a few years ago.
like
What he's trying to say is that if it's
if it's peaceful,
Unfortunately-
all you need is a metal gate.
but unfortunately,
But as soon as they went over that,
though, you're missing the point. The point is that what he's trying to say is that the day of the peaceful protest being like actually coming, like anything coming from it is over. Like nobody gives a shit. Nobody gives a shit if you get a whole bunch of people and stand on the side of the fucking road and try to protest or whatever. Nobody gives a shit.
so we have
They
to
just
just
drive-
storm capitals when stuff doesn't go our
Well,
way.
let's look at Black Lives Matter.
I'm not talking about black.
Well, I'm just saying
we're
that
talking
it's this
about is
concept.
people
At what point is Black
going
Lives
out of
Matter
jail is-
peaceful?
You're talking. Well, you got to remember.
We're not talking about those people should be in jail too. If they,
Why aren't they?
I don't know. I don't know if they
Because they
stormed
ran for
somewhere.
the Democrat
I'm talking.
side.
You know they. You know.
No, I'm talking about these people that went to jail on January 6th.
Okay.
I'm not talking about.
What about
That's what we're supposed to be talking about here.
no?
But we're all in agreement. If they broke something,
We're
and
not
they
though,
were
because he doesn't think.
No, he thinks-
I thought you said they
he,
should.
no,
No.
he knows.
you're not listening.
No.
I know. I don't like how this wants to go out. I want to restart this podcast. This is not.
He has said if they have broke something and everything else, then yes, they do. But if you're just
You said
pushed
that?
in through a crowd,
Oh.
if you're just
Oh,
pushed in through,
we
a
keep going to this crowd thing. The 1,500 people that were
so you're telling me there's
Did you-
1,500 people that broke a fucking window and jumped through?
no, there's 1,500 people that
There are
did,
fucking windows in that place.
Good point. But I think that there was people that did more than just go into the Capitol.
So there's 1,500 people that were shooting guns outside the.
No, I don't think anybody shot guns. I think they
I thought you just said
assisted.
there was gunshots.
So you said,
Oh, that woman got shot outside and killed by the agents. There was agents that killed the woman that tried to go through the window. That was the gunshot they heard.
I thought you were talking
outside.
from the other side.
I thought you were talking.
No, there was gunshots going on. They heard that in the chamber and they freaked out. They, had to get gas masks and all kinds of stuff. They thought this.
So, I mean, out of the 1,500 people, I personally don't think there's 1,500 people that need to be in jail on charges that were.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's that. I don't think there's that many. But yes, as to get back on track, yes, I do feel that the people that broke a window and were the first ones to go in, those ones should be held accountable. But as far as the following, like I brought up earlier, man, just because you're in the backseat of a car and that guy hit somebody, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're responsible for the death of another human being.
Well, and there's plenty of protests that they're not even like you're supposed to get a permit and everything to do a protest. Like, there's plenty of stuff where that doesn't happen. There's plenty of things where it's even more chaos than probably, January 6th was, and those people don't go to jail. And so I understand you're trying to just talk about the January 6th, but the point of that is we're saying it's if you're going to do it to these people, you have to do it to these people. And so why are you so dead set on these people being prosecuted and kept in jail, but you're not dead? You don't have that same stance about, like we know for a fact that Black Lives Matter stormed the streets in Sacramento and blocked traffic, which is totally illegal. All those people didn't get arrested. You know what I mean? And so the point to that is like, you can't just pick and choose all the time. And that's the point. It's like, there's definitely an agenda. The Black Lives Matter, why they're not arresting them? They're too afraid to.
They didn't go into the capital of California and try to stop business.
They still broke the law.
I know,
but they broke the law. That's all that matters, right? And the reason I say it's hypocritical is I know at the same time that you probably don't feel that everybody should get deported out of here. But the reality is those parents broke the law.
Last week I said, if you broke the law, you broke the law. I wasn't.
Yeah.
See, now you're rewriting history based on last week. You didn't even let me talk about it next week.
I'm not rewriting it.
You're not even letting me talk about it this week.
We can totally talk about it. We're going to talk about it. But I'm just saying.
Okay, well, when it comes down to, I think they broke the law and they should stay in jail. And I don't care. Yes, if you've been charged with a crime, you need to pay for that crime.
Okay.
And maybe, the people you said the Black Lives Matter, I don't know why we're talking about them. I want to talk about this.
We're talking about protest. That's why we're talking about it. I'm just saying,
go ahead.
You said I don't know. You said I don't know why we're talking about it. I'm telling you, the reason we were bringing it up is because we're talking about protests.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's why we brought up
peaceful protest.
Black Lives Matter.
This wasn't a peaceful protest.
No, I know.
Either it was the Black Lives Matter.
And did they get arrested? They should have got it.
Why?
I don't know.
Aren't you concerned about that?
Well, I would think they got arrested, the people that were on the streets. What crime were they committing? I don't know.
Blocking traffic isn't a crime?
I don't know. And I don't know what it was.
They were smashing windows.
So if they caught those people, yes, vandalism, they should get definitely, yeah. If they were able to catch them, yeah.
But
sure.
Why weren't they caught?
I don't know.
Well, they might have just caught those people. They could have just caught some of those people, the actual vandals. But I guarantee you, and they probably did arrest a lot of the vandals they caught, but they didn't arrest everybody that was blocking traffic that was committing a crime.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my point. I'm saying that the people that actually are committing severe crimes, I understand they should be put behind bars. But at some point, when it comes to politics, at what point are you making it so that people are going to, you want to allow people to voice their opinions and you want to allow people to be heard. Mm-hmm. And I don't feel like that's something that's there. I think that's what you're saying too. It's like, so yeah, sure. Okay. We don't want to do protests. We don't want protests. We don't want to be violent. Okay. That's understandable. So what's the change? Right? So it goes down, people protest, bad things happen. Okay. What's the change to make it better? Nothing. Then if you do a peaceful protest, they're not going to listen to you. They don't care. So if you do a big protest like January 6th and let it go and let it go the way it did, it just creates a narrative. It doesn't, what does it solve? If anything, it just makes everybody look bad. So it's not solving anything. But my point is, by allowing that to happen, if you know that that's potentially going to happen, you can be like, yeah, let's let them fall on their face. I don't know if that happened or not. But what I will say is that there's been a lot of things that have been very suspect in politics. I mean, we're seeing them. We're seeing them now. That makes me look back and go, man, I don't know if everything was the way that they wanted to be. They were portraying it to me. You know, you had a lot of things in just that was portrayed to you before the election. That's part of the reason that we kind of decided to do this. That you look back on, you might go, well, that wasn't entirely that. Oh, looks like they might have not been telling the truth on that. You know, and so my point is, if we're going to say that there's no foul play going on in the background, is where I go, I don't know if that's true. And I think that that's where potentially, that's where Trump's mind is at. You know, don't forget, he knows more than we do about all of it. Guaranteed. You know, just because he's not saying everything, I guarantee you he knows quite a lot about it. You know what I mean? And so I'm just saying, he doesn't seem like a guy that's just trying to release murderers and stuff. But I do feel like that he believes that he feels like he has some sense of responsibility to the people that may be there, that may be in jail, that probably still that don't deserve to be there still. And that's where I think that he's coming in. But I don't know. We will see.
I just think that
I think it should go by case by case.
Yeah,
case by case. The mass thing, I think is wrong. I will agree with you there.
I mean, and dude, you can't stand on like if they break the law. There's so many laws that we break. Like you probably broke the law driving over here 5 times. And you know what I mean? And do you want to get arrested and go to jail for that? Would you feel happy? But would you be like, yes, right, I should be in jail right now because I didn't turn on my turn signal before I moved lane? I'm just saying.
that's jumping to
I'm just saying.
really.
People break laws all the time, but you have a choice of how you like. Okay, you guys are protesting. You push through. This isn't, you know, and it's like, let's go back and look at it. There's things you can do to fix things. There's things you can do to, you know, talk about it. Be like, hey, look, this was on us. These people, like, be transparent. These people have been arrested and sentenced because they did this, this, and this.
We could probably go up and look everything.
I looked up something.
It's public.
But that's what I'm saying is, like, put that out there. I shouldn't make that the news, but that's not the news. The news has always been anti-Trump. The whole thing is anti-Trump. The whole thing is Trump trying to insurrect the government. It's not about the fact that people protested. What could we have done as a government? What could the government have done to make it safer for everybody? What could the government have done to prevent anything bad from happening? That's what I want to start seeing, because I don't feel like the government prevents shit. They don't prevent people from going over the border. You know?
Okay, there's a lot to unpack what you just said. I could put the Trump, you know, instigation thing aside. Like, I'm not even talking about that. I'm just talking about the people that went into the Capitol. There has to be.
But when you say go,
nobody's let me finish today. Go ahead.
No, but when you're saying they go into the Capitol.
They went into the Capitol. They went
that's
into
not,
the Capitol.
But the thing is for one, you're saying there's 1,500 people that went into the Capitol.
There was way more than that. But anyway, go ahead.
But you're saying there's 1,500 people that committed the crime that should be held accountable, right?
I was going to say something, but you didn't let me finish.
Okay, go ahead.
So if they do not held these people accountable for whatever crimes they committed, big, small, middle, it's going to send us a message to anybody that they can just go and impede government processes, right? Like if they let these people out tomorrow, you're going to be like, you know what? I don't fucking agree with this. What's going on right now in California? I'm just going to go storm in there, and I don't know what their end game was, but it's just going to give you a green light to do that. You're going to think, hey, this is the way we protest now.
Well, what's the alternative?
The alternative is to vote and go ahead, John.
But that, my point is that
I feel like I'm getting ganged up. You guys won't let me talk.
No, you're not going to gang up. No,
I've been letting you guys talk. Every time I talk, you just cut me off.
Conversation go back front. I'm not cutting you off. You can totally continue. What I was going to say.
I'm ready to move on to a different subject because seriously, like, I feel like both of you are just cutting me off. Like, I have not been able to say anything. So
no,
go ahead.
It's called a conversation. Like, look, it's not 2 minutes hot seat, then 2 minutes the other way around. So conversation is definitely can go back and forth. And I think people should be able to chime in on certain points and be able to make a point. So, I mean, I don't feel like there's any reason to get upset about it. It's be all right.
Go talk. I mean, I'm trying to talk.
Threw it off spin. I'm not gonna, there's nothing to talk about anymore.
Gotcha. So let's go into yours. We talked 45 minutes about this.
Well, I don't feel like it's closed though.
Okay, go ahead.
So I don't know. I feel like we need to close it.
Close it.
I mean, it's Mike's issue. So
they should all stay in jail. Fuck them. Go ahead.
All right, if that's how you feel, I guess so. I don't know. I disagree with it, but all people in jail. I don't disagree with that, but I can understand why you feel that way. But all right, well, moving on. What's our next one we're gonna go into?
It's your subject.
To January 1.
Jan 1.
Jan 1.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about, well, I guess one would be the New Orleans, right? New Orleans attacker, and then the other one would be the Cybertruck in front of Trump Tower. I guess the first question, what is your guys' thoughts on the whole New Orleans thing? Have you guys read into it and everything at all? Seen the bits and pieces about it?
I've seen a couple. Look, man, I'm trying to start the new year off on a positive note, and unfortunately, there's been some bad events, dude. And I don't want to start my first few days by going down these crazy rabbit holes of just death and unwarranted things. I mean, I don't feel that's unwarranted to take other people's lives, but so I haven't looked too much into the New Orleans. I know that he was in the military or former.
He was former military, yeah, former Army, and then he was a U.S. citizen born in Texas.
He had some. Then they found like a ISIS flag.
ISIS flag, yeah.
Some weird.
Yeah, they don't really actually, supposedly, they don't even know what all his, like, if he had any accomplices or not. Supposedly, they found the room that he had rented, and it had like a workbench where he had like made the bombs, and then it had Quran open and something about martyrdom, to a page of something about martyrdom. I don't know. When I heard that, I was almost like who leaves their book open anymore? like with the intentional of like the martyrdom on the table, but versus somebody opening it up. I don't know. The crazy part about it is everybody says the guy was kind of normal before, and all of a sudden he just like fell off the grid kind of, and then
over the last year he became like radicalized is some things that.
Yeah, well, and they're having a hard time figuring out how that was actually done, like where if that ever happened or not. I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things that, I don't know, man. But for me, it comes down to the fact of like, I don't know. I guess it's listening to people, and I don't know. I guess my biggest thing is like, you listen to some of these podcasts and stuff like that, and you listen to some, even the stuff about, January 6th, right? And we can get all heated about it, and which I don't want to do, by the way. But my thing is like, there's a lot of narratives out there, and it's hard to know which one's right. It's hard to know which one's actually the truth, right? And so, but one of the things, it's hard to know if it's, people will line a lot of stuff, well, that's conspiracy theory type of stuff, right? And so the funny part is like, not funny, but the unfortunate part is I listened to the original Sean Ryan show with his analyst on there, with the ex CIA analyst on there, and I think her name's Sarah Adams. But I watched it a couple weeks ago and listened to it, and when I watched it, like I took a warning from it. I was like, man, that seems like that could be some serious stuff. But the crazy part about it is, I kind of mentioned it to like my wife, like, hey, there's, they're saying these types of things might happen, and for me, it's like can
you scoot more towards your mic?
Yeah. For me, it's like, I don't know. I hear stuff like that, and I don't want to sound conspiracy theory, but I do at the same time, like, I feel like you want to warn people to like, be careful, like watch out for, maybe steer clear of big gatherings, which is sad to have to do, right? But maybe steer clear of big gatherings and stuff like that. And so, to the point where I even told my wife about it, and she actually she was like, well, whatever, And then when the New Orleans thing happened on the 1st, she was actually upset with me when I started talking about it, 'cause she was like, why are you throwing that at me in the morning? Like, it's the brand new year. And I was like, I understand, like, you don't want to hear about the bad stuff that's happened, but it sucks that it happened. But I feel like that people need to start being on edge a little bit and start feeling so comfortable in their lives and being oblivious. I feel like we're kind of like oblivious to what's going on around us. Like, the world is actually pretty crazy. And especially when you start going to some of these other countries, and there's some pretty radical people. Who do a lot for their religion versus, a lot of people in other countries are willing to die for their religion, like, now. And I don't know if we necessarily have that type of view for a lot of people over here. And so that's where it's like, I don't think that, at some points we're ready for if that type of stuff keeps coming. And whether or not that guy was just a sole actor and actually radicalized or not, nobody really knows at this point. But I do think that it just goes to show that it's dangerous out there, and people really need to be careful, and you're not always protected. You got to protect yourself. I think that's one of the things. I don't know. I look at the world nowadays, and I'm like, I don't think people take the steps to protect themselves enough. And that's one of the things I hope that people start to take away from some of this stuff, is that look, you got to try to look out for yourself. You got to keep your head on a swivel and pay attention to what's going on out there and not put yourself in harm's way, because the stuff like that with this guy just turning down the street, I mean, it was just too easy for him. And it's interesting too, the fact that wasn't more barricaded off. The street wasn't more barricaded off. I found that really interesting. I watched the video of him just turning onto the street, and it was like just like a driving straight and just a whip right in down there and then just gunned it. Yeah. So it's very, I don't know, it was crazy. But, and then with the Cybertruck attack, when we watched we all watched that Sean Ryan last night, but I mean, there's just a lot to unpack with that one, with the whole drones in China, and whether or not it's true or not, we can't say that it's true. We just know that there was some supporting, supporting documents that kind of supported that guy's manifesto of the things that he had seen or that he had been a part of. There was actually reports that verified the bombing of innocent and killing of innocent people overseas and stuff like that. So, but I think all of that really comes to, it just goes to show that, as our border's a problem and things can come through, and scary things as far as like weapons or bombs and stuff. But at the same time, there's enemies inside too. Those people were, but the guy with the Cybertruck, I'm not saying he's necessarily an enemy. We don't even know what really happened to him. It was a very interesting concept, the way they were talking about the fact that this guy had done all of this and had a bomb to go off and everything inside of a bulletproof truck. That was an interesting topic of conversation, or just kind of like,
They just had like fireworks and stuff. It wasn't actual.
They're saying he had an actual bombs. Yeah, with all that stuff in the back.
Like, but
that's what caused
it
the
was
explosion.
gas and, but it wasn't like a bomb.
He said that he had a VBED, which is a bomb. It's actually a bomb. I think he just had, but they're all
Categorizes like a bomb though. 5 gallons of gas and
anything goes boom. Well, one of my point is I don't know if the fireworks themselves were an actual intentional part of the bomb itself. I'm sure there was some reason for them to, like they said on there, I think it would cause like a big scene by them going off potentially. But it's very weird. That whole thing is really weird. Even then I feel like that guy kind of offed himself. I don't feel like it was, I don't know, from what I see from him saying like,
well, do we know
this did?
Well, first off, do we even know that it was that guy?
Well, that was a conversation that I started talking about.
I don't know. After they said there's like DNA evidence that that's him, I'm not even sure.
I heard that it wasn't his son.
Yeah, that they were saying that
the DNA didn't match his.
See, I thought that was a reason they were saying why he did it. Not that they've tested him to see if that was the person in the car. Like that was what made him do.
Yes,
that
they were trying to say that was the narrative they were painting of why he might have done it.
Well, then it was the whole Desert Eagle.
Desert Eagle, yeah.
But they said that they never even seen like a gun flash or nothing. So like,
right, yeah, they did say.
I think he shot himself and then actually Cybertrucked his way to the.
Well, no, that's what they talked about in the podcast. They were saying, the unique thing about the Cybertruck is literally he could already be dead, and the Cybertruck will drive him to the tower, and then they can just set off a bomb. So that's where they were saying, like, there was no, in the videos from the outside looking at the Cybertruck, there was no signature of like a flash they had seen. And who knows? I don't even know a lot about those Cybertrucks. So, who knows how those, maybe you can't see. I don't know if you can see through the freaking windows. Elon's a pretty slick cat. I don't know what he's built on. But I don't know if you'd be able to see a gun. I've never seen a gunshot fired inside of a Tesla, so I don't even know.
So here's my take on the whole thing that you're kind of discussing when, people need to be more aware of what's going on and stuff like that. I feel at some point, if you're so aware and so on edge, you can't really enjoy life. And I feel that it was an unfortunate event in New Orleans where those people were just trying to enjoy life. They're just trying to get out. They're trying to bring in the new year around people, celebrate, enjoy. And, without knowing, I hate that I'm pointing the finger, but it's there's so much mental illness that we just don't deal with. You know what I mean? And I don't necessarily know if there's outlets for these people. You know what I mean? At some point, you've got to just be stuck inside your own head and have to do something. I don't agree with you with everybody having to know with everything that's going on, because dude, I'll tell you right now, if I knew everything that was going on in this world, dude, for one, I'd be disgusted. For two, I'd be so on edge, and I wouldn't allow my son to and my daughter to go outside. You know what I mean? It's like they basically grew up in a bubble. And I wouldn't want that for my children. I don't know. That's a rough one, man. But I don't know. I don't want to know too. I don't want to know everything. I don't. I do. I truly I don't. You know what I mean?
You'd rather be oblivious to what's your thoughts?
Oblivious to
Well,
why he did this?
No. Like the threats that are out there, I guess. And when I say that, I'm saying more like, I don't know, like have the conversation with your, people have, it could just be a conversation with your kids about if this happens, if this ever happens, make sure that you go do this. Like it's as much as a fire drill, right? In your house, you know what I mean? Like, hey, if there's ever a fire, this is what you got to do, and like just preparing them and practicing it maybe, and stuff like that. So that if there's ever a situation, and I get it, a guy barreling down the street, like there's not a whole lot you can do to stop. I mean, those people in that moment can do to stop that. I mean, even if for some reason any of those people were carrying, had a concealed carry permit and anything like that, I mean, the reaction time on that would almost be probably impossible. And on top of that, the fear of that, oh my God, this guy's just driving towards me. Do I even have the right to shoot him? You wouldn't even know really. So I don't even think you could compute that before the guy nailed you. But
well, and it was a street,
right? But that,
you know what I mean?
That's where it comes down for me is like, if they would have, they could have done better. Like that the world is kind of crazy right now, and if you're gonna have all like I even told my wife, I said New Year's here. I said I hope nobody gets hurt. So I told my wife because I was like, I'd listened to that podcast and I'd heard about like basically that they would create a mass casualty event. And then when the mass casualty event was, people were reacting to it and it drew in, responders and people to try to help the people, that there would be a secondary explosion or something, mass casualty that would create even more chaos. Right. And that could even be a chain of events that keeps going, for all the, but that guy essentially had that set up for that. I mean, he turned down the street, he mowed people over, he created a mass casualty event. He had an IED positioned in a cooler, another explosive positioned in a cooler on the street, and to, potentially maybe go off once he had done that. I think but once the truck stopped, he was met by the police and then they exchanged gunfire and he was killed. And so he didn't get to complete what he had started. Right.
Yeah.
So who knows? And thank God. But who knows what that would have looked like, right? But it definitely looks like it's pretty similar to what the Sean Ryan, the girl on Sean Ryan talked about. That those are the types of terrorist attacks we're going to see, So it's even the fact of just talking to kids, be like, look, hey, if something happens, go make sure you're finding cover until it's clear. Something, you know what I mean? Like, or till you see a police officer, whatever it is. But I'm just saying that I just feel like as we're kind of oblivious, as in the United States, we haven't had a lot of attacks on our soil, and the ones that we have been traumatic enough to almost like spark the nation into like
9/11 is what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, 9/11, those planes went into the building, and then all the emergency responders ran into the building, and then the building collapses.
Yeah, similar. Yeah.
So I think that's something maybe we can. I mean, that's a huge rabbit hole conspiracy theory,
crazy
implosion, blowing up from the bottom down.
What's your thoughts on the guy? Is it mental health too? Because military guys, I'm sure that have had some health.
My thoughts on which one are we talking about?
The guy, the New Orleans guy. I mean, you can talk about both of them technically. I mean, I'm sure the other guy had some issues too if he's going to off himself. But
I don't know, man. We're just doing what the human mind always does, like try to make sense of things when we don't have answers. And I don't know what the answers are. And I know that people were mowed down by a truck, and that's terrible. And I don't know, maybe you're gonna have to do a more deep dive into this guy's past and how he was to figure out something. I don't know. I really don't know what to say about this one. It's terrible. I don't think he was like a veteran like your typical veteran that might have PTSDs. So I don't know I don't know what his background.
I think he deployed, but I think he was like he was like admin, like supply
But
was he HR?
HR.
Yeah, so
okay.
Admin, yeah. So,
and I'm not saying that admin people don't have PTSD.
No.
Just like not your first, like,
yeah,
you think that would be. I know he was like trying to be a real estate agent. He was, and
I saw that,
became very in debt his wife, and he broke up with his wife. He was having problems there. So now the Islam thing, I don't know. There's just so many unanswered questions, and we're trying to fill in the answers with, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that you were saying about, knowing about all these threats. I think we would get inundated with threats if we knew everything the government thought was going to happen, right?
Well, the crazy part is, it's not even the government telling us.
Yeah. Well, you're saying that the government should tell us, though, right? Is that what you said?
I feel like there should be some insight to, I mean, like, look, you could choose not to go and watch that channel or whatever, but I feel like, I don't know. I just feel like I feel like there's a lot of secrecy. And I feel like if you just I get it. We can't know everything. Like, for example, hypothetically, if the drones were aliens, right? I'm not saying they are, but you're going to understand, okay, they're not telling everybody that they're aliens because then you have mass panic, right? And how do you even control that? So in that scenario, you go, like, I'm going to be the first to go, I want you to tell me, right? But at the same time, I would be an idiot if I didn't understand why you're not, right? But I do feel like there's some things that can be warnings of like, hey, there's a potential that this might, I don't know. I guess it always seems like, even with this one, and I don't know if it's 100% true, but I even heard something that the FBI had an idea, or either the FBI or the police in New Orleans had an idea that something was going to happen before it happened. And I feel like that's a kind of a pattern that we kind of hear regularly. Whether or not it's true or not, I don't always know, but like, there was, even with the 9/11 deep dive, there's a lot of things that say that there was kind of some chatter before it happened that something might happen. And it's more of that thing of like, okay, if chatter's happening and there's this potential of something happening, why not just put it out? I mean, why not put it out there? It could be just as easy as, they put out, hey, Mexico is now a level, 2? I don't know what the different levels, but they just made Mexico like a non-travel or precautious travel, like level 2 travel warning or something like that, because there was just 4 Americans that got shot and killed. Did you guys see that? Oh, like a dad, his brother, and his 14-year-old son, and then they were all fishing over there, and they all got shot in the head and dumped on the side of the road. I think the boy was still alive in intensive care, but then they issued a travel warning for Mexico. And so it's that type of, even if it's that type of thing, like, hey, in the military, we had, like, you have DEFCONs, right? And or you have different warnings of colors for different things and stuff like that. So even if it's just like, hey, like with the fire, you're not supposed to start fires. What do they say? It's like red flag or something like that for you're not to.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be, some sort of a warning that just says, hey, like, there's something, just be cautious, enjoy yourself, but
I think we'd be saying that every day.
You could be.
I do too. I think it'd be burned out real quick.
Yeah, there's like
the first month, people would be like, fuck it.
There's hundreds of FBI offices all over the country, and they're probably getting dozens of tips of what's happening, and they have to sift through them. And I think it'd be, and not just the FBI, the other agencies that are getting all this kind of intel, like, it's probably hard to sift through it and tell what's real and what we should really tell you about and what, was just total bullshit and just had no help at all. I think it, like you said, like being situational awareness, like when I take my kids to Disneyland, we all go through these lines to go into Disneyland. There's like hundreds of us. I'm like this is where somebody could actually do some damage.
Yeah.
And I start getting anxiety and start looking around. And so you have to think about those scenarios, like, what are we going to do if something happens?
So that's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about. You think about that because you probably think, I would assume, you think about that because of your military background.
Maybe.
A little bit. You're like, and you're also,
because I'm just smart.
And you're smart, but you're also in like a law enforcement, you're around a lot of law enforcement, being in the court system. So you know what's out there that's kind of bad and evil. You see it, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying is like, I know that, you know that, but do you know that? You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I'm aware. The everyday person to be able to have that, like, hey, have your head on like, that should be a conversation with people. Things are hard, right? Like things are a little dangerous right now, a little bit on edge. We got a whole bunch of wars going on. Everybody talks about World War III being a possibility. The border's open. There's these supposed, there's been people, women, especially women. There's been, murders with the illegals have came through. There's been murders. There's all these things that have happening. And I don't feel like, I feel like there needs to be more of like a, hey, look, these are potential. And even if it's not put it out to the people, maybe it's for New Orleans. It's like, hey, we're getting some threats here that could be credible. Like let's double up security, or let's bring it, let's put more barriers up, or let's whatever. Like,
Yeah, but do you think that would cause a frenzy for people to panic more? And
I think you can do stuff to where some people that are really observant might go, oh, these are a little bit more barriers than they were last year.
like it's something.
But I think
like
at the same time, they might go, at some point, you'd almost have to appreciate it. Be like, hey, look, they're trying to protect us. You know what I mean? I don't know. Some people, but most people probably wouldn't even notice. No, depending on the level of what you were doing. I mean, yeah, if you had like drones flying over and scanning for people, they might be like, this is a little different. I don't know, this seems pretty intense. But yeah, if it was just like an extra barrier or something, I mean, shit, at the end of the day, it's like, why are cars and trucks parked across that? Like, we're blocking up. Like here, I'm just used to seeing it. If the street's blocked off, generally, there's a police car blocking the street. Even if there's a barrier, there's normally like a cop car there or something. You know what I mean? Even if there's no cop in it.
I mean,
The National Guard was there.
yes,
Were they there?
No.
Oh, should have been. Would have been a different story.
Sorry. I had to.
But that,
I don't mean to make a joke.
no,
It
but
just-
on the joke note though, that is
so let's go down a rabbit.
but that is kind of my point a little bit. Like if somebody took a little bit extra precaution, I understand your concept of the people broke the law. I get that. But my point is, like, if somebody would have taken a little bit more extra precaution, it could still be the same outcome, potentially. I understand that.
I bet you
But it
that-
also could have possibly prevented it.
I bet you New Orleans was doing the best they could. I bet you that's, we talked about like the lack of police and
For sure. Defund the
we're like
some of that.
fucking taxed and stressed everywhere with police and like, it's, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I said
So
It's-
this is the rabbit hole that I want to go down.
Valid, I think.
it's rough. Like there is no fucking answers to it. Like shit is going to happen.
I agree with that.
and
Correct.
You can't
it's
things
and
happening.
I think that taking responsibility for your family and your situation is the best you can do, right? Like you trying to possibly carry a weapon with you or being very aware of your surroundings and having discussions, like you said, with your kids, like if this happens, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, you're going to get on the ground and try to get as low as you can and get behind somebody
Right.
that's been hit and try to block yourself and
Yeah.
do all those things to stay alive.
Yeah. Like
It's scary to tell your 10-year-old and
100%.
it sucks that we live in this time.
So
That does suck
Yeah.
because I want my son to, or my 10-year-old to go and enjoy rides and smile and have Mickey Mouse ears on. You know what I mean?
And enjoy New Year's Eve. I mean, these people were just enjoying together. They didn't care if they were Republicans, Democrats, gay, straight, black, white. They were just celebrating, and we just can't do that.
well, and
And maybe that's why we're divided, because we can't hang out because of these kind of things. There's a lot of things that divide us.
Well, I agree. And I agree with that. One of the things. So I had a situation where I had to tell my kids, or I didn't have to, but I did. But the movie theater shootings, shooting thing was a big change, right? And it's a lot of people in a box that are pretty helpless in the dark, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're not even in most places you're not even supposed to carry, even if you're a CCW carrier. I don't even think you're allowed to carry in the movie theater, which is crazy in itself. To the point when that happened, it was crazy. And I'm a big movie guy, and so for me, it was like, dang, when am I safe? Like that was like a place I enjoy.
I love
right?
going to the
And
movies.
that's been taken away to the point where it was like this was like 5 or 6 years ago, but it was Christmas. We went to the movies on Christmas with my mom, my aunt and uncle, and my cousin, and went to go see Star Wars. It came out, and sitting there, lights go down dark, and this guy stands up and screams something at the top of his lungs, and like kind of like a chant type of thing, and then just gets up and walks out. And I'm like, well, that was freaking odd. So literally for the whole rest of the movie, so I was like, either something's about to happen, or inside, or he's going to do like, what is he coming back with something? So literally the whole entire movie, the whole entire rest of the movie, I stood in the back of the theater. I got up out of my seat, stood in the back of the theater in case dude came back to the door, that I'd put him down. And after that, every single time after that, I take my kids to the movies. They know now.
You're probably one dude out of how many in that theater that did
Oh,
that?
probably a couple hundred. I mean, 100 people or something. It was the opening of Star Wars. I mean, I can only imagine. But which would be a good excuse for somebody to go hit an opening of a big movie franchise, right? But then after that, I took my girls to the movies, and at the time, they're probably 11 and like 7, I guess, or something like that. But I tell them, hey, if anything happens, anything pops off, anything you hear gunshots or anything like that, you guys both, I'm going to put you guys on the ground and I'm going to lay on top of you. You do not move. If I don't move, you don't move. I don't care if you don't think I'm alive, you stay there until somebody comes and gets you. And, it's not a fun conversation to have with your little kids, but it's one of those things where it's like, people like to, if the alternative to that is trying to run and be scared and get caught crossfire or something else. So yeah, it sucks. It sucks that you are right. Our things that we want to have, our freedoms in a sense, to be able to feel free. But that's one of the things I think that we actually have that freedom and that feeling a lot more than a lot of other countries do.
100%. Yeah.
Right. And so I think
I would think of 100%.
that's where I know there's a lot of free countries out there, but there's a lot of countries that aren't necessarily, in a sense. And so there's a lot of, if you choose to, your religion views are different, next thing you know, you're being beaten or you're being, killed for that matter. And so, I do think that at some points as a society, we've gotten to where we just always feel safe. And that's where I guess I just kind of sit back and be like, hey, we're not like bulletproof. We're not immune to this world around us, And so I just feel like people need to start paying attention to that. And it's the stupidest things for me, even just like, it's kind of off topic, but there was a kid here this last year who got mauled by a mountain lion out in the mountain, not even really the mountains, but a little bit, not too far from where I live in,
like Georgetown.
Yeah.
I was in Georgetown.
And he got mauled. There's two friends together. They went out looking for just deer antler sheds, and they came across a mountain lion. They met a mountain lion on the trail. Out there, and they didn't have any weapons to defend themselves. And the reason that they didn't bring a weapon was because it was opening turkey season for junior turkey, and they were afraid if they brought a weapon to protect themselves that they would get in trouble because it was turkey season and they would think they were trying to hunt turkeys. So they didn't bring anything. And then they both got attacked. And then the one boy unfortunately lost his life. And it's like one of those things where I just look at it, it's like stupid shit like that, where it's like, it could be prevented, you know what I mean? By allowing people to just kind of live without having the fear of like every single turn, there's some sort of thing that's going to get you in trouble that you're going to, you can't even protect yourself sometimes. And that's the sad part that I see, it's just, even when it comes to, having a CCW right now, my friend, I was just telling Chuck that he got arrested yesterday for what they say brandishing a firearm, but he has a CCW and 3 guys walked up on him. And so he didn't know. And we're talking shit to him. And so he pulled out his gun, just like, get the hell away from me. And he feared for his life, but yet he was arrested for brandishing a weapon. And so it's one of those things where it's like, you have this fear, even though I can carry a gun to protect myself. It's like this fear of, if the minute I pull it out is, am I going to be just crucified for trying to protect myself, or am I actually going to, people are going to look at the situation and be like, we understand why he did this,
Did they tell you in your training for the CCW when you could pull out your firearm? Was that gone over?
Yeah, they talk about it for sure. Yeah. The minute you feel like your life is in danger, the minute you feel like your life is in danger, you can pull it out and defend yourself.
Did they say when? That's a gray area. Like feeling my life in danger is way different than maybe yours, possibly. So that's weird. That I'm just trying to figure out why they arrested your buddy.
I think at the end of the day, there's, in the initial, there's always going to be 2 sides to every story, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, who knows what the actual final outcome will be? But, he might just get,
No, did the guy say, hey, we weren't threatening him, we don't know why he pulled out his gun, and that's why he got arrested? Or
I think actually what ended up happening is the reason that they came up on him is him and his girlfriend, now ex-girlfriend, were having an argument, and she had his keys and she had stuck them in her sweater front pocket. And he was like, give me my keys. She was like, no. Tried to get the keys out of her pocket, and the guys were like, oh, she doesn't seem like she wants to be touched by you. And so they came walking over, and
so they were protecting the female, possibly.
Right.
Huh.
In that sense. But then 3 guys showed up, in a sense, all of a sudden now he's like, well, I just became like outgunned here quick. And so, it's a gray area, but it's one of those things. And, I probably wouldn't have done that, pulled mine out. It's one of those things where there is times where it's like, for example, I said like the New Orleans, right? This guy's gunning this truck down the road. Like, if it's 50-50, you're a hero that pulled out your concealed carry and shot the guy in the truck and killed him, or it's you pulled the gun out, you shot the guy, and now you're in trouble. And you're a hero, or now that you're being prosecuted, or it was a somebody that was having an epileptic seizure and they're just shooting down the road and they don't know what they're doing and you shoot them. There's so much gray area, but I feel like it's so quick to just crucify us, the people, the everyday people, to the max and not let us ever make mistakes or ever, you know what I mean? And the one thing I'll say about California gun law, with the California side of it, is it's really hard to know sometimes. Like, it's not very clear, and they want to, and they keep fighting. The courts fight about the laws, the gun laws and stuff, to protect yourselves, or just all kinds of laws. But then they change, and you don't always know the change. You try to stay up on it. You try to stay in the mix, and you try to stay in the know. But things change so much, and even when you try to just look it up, there's no really easy lookup for that stuff where it's like, hey, am I allowed to do this? You get like 75,000 different answers. You know what I mean? And so you take you go, oh, that one matches what I think sounds right. And then you go do it and it's not right. So it's a gray area for sure. But I do just think that, I think as Americans, we need to just stop being just so comfortable that we're oblivious and start paying attention just a little bit to what's going on, because if we don't, a lot of us could potentially get hurt, unfortunately, by attacks and stuff.
Do you think we lead the world in these kind of events, like mass casualty stuff? Do you think we have the most in the world?
It's hard to say. I would say we probably have the most televised, the most like reported type of stuff. But I mean, I'm sure that
I wouldn't think so.
I would
hope not.
I don't know.
That is weird.
We need our fact checker to look that up. But yeah, I wonder if we do. Like, you said we have the most freedoms, but I just wonder if we have the most of these kinds of situations.
I mean, I would doubt it in the sense of that, like for example,
all right, of like democracies, like not just like third world countries where stuff just could happen all the time, like revolts and stuff, but like European nations.
We do lead.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Japan and stuff. Well, that's unfortunate.
What do you think the percentage is? Like, how many? I hate saying that. I don't want to sound mean, rude, gutless, or whatever. But how many people actually were celebrating New Year's Eve, opposed to the 15 people that died? Like, what is that percent? Is it like 0.000?
I mean,
that day,
in
New Orleans,
just in general, just across the United States. Like, we look at this and we're like, we should take better steps to protect these 15 people, but we also need to give credit that there was 200 million people celebrating and only 15 got hurt. Like, you know what I mean? It's like you could do 1,000 good things and you do the one wrong thing and everybody always points at that. And I'm not saying that makes it right for those people who lose their lives in New Orleans, but I think we need to give more credit to, our government, our local and national government officials or whatever, to keep the greater of people protected. You know what I mean? Like, it's got to be a small percent.
Very small percent.
Like, no, going to a house party. I'm saying physically out on a street. I think every city has something. Sacramento has something. Roseville had something,
Yeah, downtown. Yeah.
Everywhere does. So,
yeah, the amount of people that were in Times Square is huge. I was there one year. It's crazy. Just
that was actually the one that I was worried about.
Thousands of people. Yeah,
something might happen. Yeah.
Yeah, they just have
how many people are there.
You just find like a spot. There's a barricade, and you just stand there.
Right.
But the street is shut down. But yeah, I mean, that's just how it's set up. Yeah, it's crazy. But
it is. I mean, start actually thinking like
it could happen everywhere.
Remember that
for sure.
I remember that shooting that happened at that country western
in Vegas.
Yeah,
that was crazy. It's crazy how many we could just go down and think about. Like, yeah, that one was nuts. Like,
it happens all the time. But the other thing is how many people actually attended concerts that year? How many people were actually protected? You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, you do lose.
Well, for that one was pretty crazy. That one would be at the top of your
scary
percentage list. Oh, I mean, there was like, I think, Dominic, you could look up how many people were injured and killed at that Las Vegas country concert shooting. I want to say it's like an insane amount. Like,
they were just fishing a barrel, dude. He was up in the
crazy
hotel, and
but that could be something like New York. like
Mhm.
Times Square.
Can happen anywhere.
Yeah, see, 61
800?
injured. Yeah, so that's
But the
that's
800 injured though, those were like people trampling each other.
no, those gunshots flying, like
Even if
getting
they,
hit by. Yeah, see,
400 by gun.
yeah.
but even if you were hurt by getting trampled, I mean,
It's
still
still
fucking
cause
hurt.
of-
Yeah.
it's
No,
still
no,
cause
no,
of it.
no.
That I mean, yeah, I mean,
Will you look up how many people attended concerts in 27?
Yeah, man, we're putting the kid to work.
I don't know. I just want to know, like,
No, I'm just okay. That's good. Put him to work.
now we got to figure.
It's our new guy.
Yeah.
well, don't look at me for that. That's like that'd be my worst subject.
I mean, go give me a tape measure.
Oh,
Yeah, right.
I'll figure it out on.
Yeah, that's a hard. I'm sure. Yeah, that's a hard one to find out.
It's
but-
got to be hundreds of millions of people.
Yeah, no, I understand where you're coming from as far as like the percentages. You could look at it. I mean, okay, so in like complete transparency on the Vegas thing, the people that were running the actual concert probably couldn't have done anything more than what they did to be able to protect the people. I mean, they didn't understand. As far as we know, they didn't think there was a threat. I think it was like day 2 or 3 of the thing anyways. Not that that should make you relax, but I'm sure that, it had gone off with a hitch and they were like, oh, this is like, I think it might have been even been the last one. I don't know. But I guess the bigger one on that one is the guy bringing all the shit into the fucking hotel
casino. Yeah.
and then not getting flat with all the cameras they have and everything. That would be your thing. But to be able to prevent something like that, very hard for sure. I mean, who would have thought your first go-to, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, this guy's gonna shoot out of a freaking, hotel window and just light up this. You probably wouldn't have even fathomed that was a thing that
Yeah.
would happen, right?
Yeah.
A lot of these times, it's these people that thought outside the box, that like the guys with the planes.
Yeah.
Never thought somebody would fly a plane into a building. The people, like you said, at the concert, they definitely never thought. I mean, what, they put a dome over the building? Like, how could you stop that? I mean,
Well,
shut down
The dome would be worse. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it's not necessarily the shooting aspect, but there's so many, gas, whatever. There's
Yeah.
so many crazy things people can do.
Well, that one was a crazy one in the sense of that, realistically, you couldn't even return fire because if
you didn't know where he was.
you could see the flashes at some points. I'm sure they could
Mhm.
be like, there, we can tell where that, but you can't just shoot up into the air
Yeah.
of a hotel building that high up. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, one, you're probably not gonna get your shot right the first couple times because it's, you're shooting up and at an, but you have more just of a chance of hitting another innocent person and trying to take him out. So the whole thing was like, it was very, in a sense, it was very well planned out in a sense, but so there's things that you can't prevent, then that would be the moral of that story. Sometimes, I mean, potentially could the casino have done better? Sure. But, and I agree with that. I've always hated that, the minute one thing small happens negatively, that people try to revamp the whole system. And I'm like, no, what are you talking about? Like, that's a one-off. You have to look at it and go, that's a one-off. It's not gonna, it's a one-off. It's a learning lesson. Might increase what we do or change what we do a little bit, but to revamp, I feel like we're quick to revamp a whole system. And I don't believe that needs to happen, but I do believe, like when I reference the New Orleans, when I say this, when I watch the video and I just watch a guy driving down the street with all the other cars and all of a sudden he can just whip down the street that easily, is more of what I'm saying. Like, okay, well, that seems like for me an easy prevention of getting a vehicle to drive down the road, right? You can stop that from happening potentially, even if it's not a terrorist act, even if it's just, my grandma was a pretty gangster driver when she was in her 80s, man, she'd get pretty out there, but it's just not paying attention, turned on the wrong road. Next thing you know, you're running into people. So that's when I see that, I go, okay, that could have done better potentially. And I get it. Like, people could do all kinds of things. People could fly a drone with the freaking improvised explosives or something like that and shit. I'm just saying,
Ideas.
do stupid shit like that. If somebody wants to do something, they're going to do it.
What did he say?
I know. I don't know.
We can cut that out if we want. But if somebody's going to do something, they're going to do it. And that's even proof of the car. Not only did the guy have a gun, he could have just did the shooting into the crowd, right? But he didn't. He used the truck and the gun was a secondary.
But I think that you hit on it, that there was a secondary idea of blowing something up. He was trying to get as deep as he could into a bunch of people and blow a bunch of people up.
So let's take a step back on both of these. So that guy, you said did he get a divorce from his wife? It was separate.
Something was going on.
Divorce. I know he
just have
did
problems with
debt
his wife.
or whatever.
Yeah.
You think if those problems were looked at, the outcome would have been different? And same with the Trump on January 1. You think if he actually was able to speak to those people, because he pleaded that he wanted to speak to these people before 30th. I think that one was already in play. I think that guy already knew the outcome of what he wanted to do. Now, whether that guy is still alive in Mexico and that's not, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think that one might have been in play. But do you think if this other guy would have gotten help, some financial help, whatever it may be, do you think the outcome could have been different? Because if that's the case, why are we sending millions of dollars, I should say hundreds of millions of dollars monthly to other countries instead of helping us here financially, mentally, putting up more barricades? Like, why are we just throwing this money at these other countries? There's so much that we could do here. We could help the people that have mental illness. We could help people financially before they get a divorce from their wife or whatever. Maybe that's not the reason why they got a divorce. Financials is stress. You know what I mean? I'm not saying handing out money is going to solve all this stuff. But then again, putting up these barricades also costs money.
Well,
It's saying like,
it's not handing out money though necessarily. I mean, you could look at it as if we weren't paying all this money out, potentially there's a chance, you could have less taxes. You could have more money in your pocket. There's a lot of, you know what I mean? So I agree with you saying, and I think that's the thing, but I think that if they would just stop doing that, then you would see a difference in people. You know, people would be better off. I think, it's still one of those things I talk about. It's like, I still feel like we could go back to where there's no taxes. And I don't understand why they're at this stage. I feel like as a people, we should be able to say, nah, I don't think so no more. Like, y'all have lost our faith in what you're doing with this. You know what I mean? Like, in a sense, they're our investment banker. The government's our investment banker. You're either investing right investments or you're investing wrong investments. You're investing in the American, you're growing America, or you're growing other countries. And the reality is we are investing in America, but America is investing elsewhere. That's what it seems like, at least.
true. How much money do we pay out?
What's the total tax revenue yearly? As said, like 2020, you could say 2023.
Yeah, do federally.
Federally, yeah. Because I'm actually okay with paying state or local, like county taxes or something like that.
$4 trillion.
Yeah.
And how much money do we give to other countries?
Oh, it's considerable.
It's
It's quite a bit, and that's probably
that
what
yearly.
Yeah, that was in 2020.
and that's probably the ones that are actually reported.
Wait, so you said we pay trillion and then
And then they spend about 68
billion.
Which is a lot of money.
That's a lot of damn.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
It is.
That's a lot.
And I think that, it's one of those things where at one point, look, it's kind of like at one point the U.S. had so much money they didn't even know what to do with it. Like a long time. It was a while ago, but there was a time where we were very much in the green money wise, and that's declined over time. Government spending. It's funny when everybody's like, "Oh, this is our." What's our deficit? What's our deficit now? I don't even know what it's up to anymore. Like something trillion. But it's like, oh yeah. But it's like, everybody wants to talk. They always want to talk about, but they're the ones that did it. We didn't. What do we have to do with that?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
If anything, you should be telling us that, oh yeah, you guys paid X amount of dollars in taxes this year, and it knocked X amount off our debt. But no, we paid more taxes this year, and we still have more debt,
and our debt's going up. Yeah.
Yeah. So
It reminds me too. I actually saw. Oh, go ahead. Listen, I'll look
No,
it
go
up.
ahead.
No,
What'd you see?
I'll look it up while you're listening. I'll listen to you.
Oh,
look it up.
you were talking about the
I'm
met.
finding his P's and Q's with you now.
I know. Yeah, you better, fucker. No.
No, I'm not
Oh.
mind anything.
So you're killing me. So apparently he posted a video. We're going back to the New Orleans murderer killer. That he wanted to he planned a gathering for his family where he intended on killing him. He posted a video. Why wasn't something done at that point?
I've never even heard.
Nobody gives a fuck about. I don't think people are taking investments in other people. Like, did anybody even see this video he put up? Like,
I never saw it,
yeah, it says that he posted.
and I actually looked at like live news or looked at most recent news on the way in this morning.
Uh-huh.
Just to see if anything came out, and I didn't see anything about that.
Yeah, he posted a video where he wanted to plan a celebration with the intention of killing his family. He wanted to get them all in one place. And he also, in this video, focused on a war between believers and disbelievers and said that he was going to blow up, like have mass explosions. So he posted this stuff. Like, where was this missed? You know?
I mean, that's crazy.
And that goes to the whole like mental health, stopping this before it happens. But I think people really don't give a shit about other people. You know, they're so into themselves. It's hard to reach out and be like, hey, Chuck's having a problem. We need to help him. And then also like, when am I infringing too much on Chuck? Like maybe Chuck's just having a bad day. Like it's a weird gray area. What do you do? I don't know. What do you guys think?
I'm pretty close with my family, you know, even to like cousins and uncles, you know what I'm saying? To where it's if I feel if somebody was to be sad or down or something like that, not to this extent or whatever, you know, but if I feel like I could reach out and have a conversation, you know, and then try to look for help for that person, you know, I think there's so much, neighbors don't know neighbors anymore. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, if you're not an outgoing person and you don't want to go out there and meet people and you're this introvert type of person, you're probably not going to get the help if you need it eventually. You know what I'm saying? But like, I know a lot of people, hey, if I call John right now and they're like, hey, John, dude, I'm having a rough time, man. Can we just get out and go on a horseback ride? Yeah, man. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Or, hey, I can't do it today, but hey, definitely come up tomorrow morning. I'm going to move everything around or whatever.
Yeah,
or
but
vice versa.
I would say but the difference is that's you asking for like, hey, like help in a sense, not help if you're just like, hey, let's just go talk necessarily, but in a sense, that's like, hey, come help me get some stuff off my mind, right? I guess the question is too, like, where did he post that at?
Just Facebook.
So, I mean, that's one of those things where, you know, I would say the first step is we really need to bring back, you know, the funding for like the mental institutions, I believe. Because the reality is there's a lot of people that have some problems out there. And whether or not it's like, you know, whether or not it's like, hey, I think this person might be going through something, and it's they have like an organization or deep, like look into it and go, yeah, we might need to bring this guy in and kind of go over some stuff and like feel him out. I get it. You could say, oh, well, without any proof, you can't make the guy go there or whatever. But if you post something like that online, I feel like any law enforcement agency would have, if anybody reported it, they would have 100%, they'd be 100% in the clear to go pick them up and take them to some sort of, you know, 5150. But that's not really as much of a thing anymore. Like, you know what I mean? Like all the mental institutions here are closed for the most part, unless it's in a hospital. And even then, you know, it's kind of a trek to get them to stay, and at what cost to them or their family, right? And that could be why too. They're like, oh, we don't want to turn this guy in because we don't have the money to pay for we don't have money to pay for the aftermath of it. You know,
and I think that's a huge thing is everything becomes financial. It's like if I fell down and broke my arm and they want to take me to the hospital and paramedic, I'll be like, no, I'll drive myself.
Yeah.
I can't afford the extra $20,000 for a 3-minute ride.
Well, and he does have freedom of speech, right?
True. But
fortunately, however you look at it.
He said he was going to kill his family though in that. So that's not really freedom of speech though. That's a threat.
He had always been the cops. I was just blowing off steam. I'm just saying the First Amendment.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
Freedom of speech.
But yeah, I can understand. Yeah, but
it's hard.
Right? All the threats, but threats don't. I don't think threats fall into there though. Like you can say, I don't know if you can say I'm going to kill this person. Is that considered freedom of speech?
Look, at the end of the day, I feel that this one could be prevented.
Oh yeah,
he definitely put stuff out there. Now, I'm not saying that 100,000 people a day don't put stuff like this out there, and maybe I'm oblivious to that. But at some point, like when you're threatening your own family, and it's just like, I don't know, man.
You would like to think that one person seen that, right, and could have done something.
Yeah. I'm not on Facebook,
but also like, well,
doesn't he have followers? Like,
I don't know. The algorithm though that throws all this bullshit in your feed, and you just know, you know. So half the time I don't even see my friend's shit. I just see a bunch of videos on, you know, things that I've searched on the internet. It's not even
squirrels getting seeds out of the bird feeder.
Yeah, or some shit. I don't know. Whenever I was looking, me and my wife talked about something that's like, oh shit, this is exactly what we just talked about. Just popped up on my Facebook.
Yeah.
And that's the shit I see. I don't see John's horse riding. You know, that's not what I see on my Facebook. So maybe nobody's seen it.
How long has it been since you've been horseback riding?
I went last weekend.
Oh, you fucker. Before that.
It had been about 6 months, probably.
That's why you don't see it.
Ah, shit. All right. Well, I didn't
But
see John's workout
I-
videos or whatever he's posting on Facebook.
Well, I did get shot in the leg, so that's why I wasn't.
Yeah. Okay. But my point is this:
Nice.
there.
Thank you. I wore it just for you.
I like it.
Yeah.
No. Well, okay. Finish what you're saying.
I don't know. So I think I was
I-
saying that Facebook, you don't always see everybody's posts. And also, I wanted to talk about like how you guys, this clearly could have been stopped or whatever. But have any of you ever had a friend commit suicide?
Yes.
And was there any signs before that person committed suicide for you? Because I had one of my really good friends commit suicide, and there was no signs that he was in. I mean, he had problems, but I didn't know he was going to that.
Yeah.
I wasn't that close with. I was more or less an acquaintance,
Mm.
so I can't really.
I knew a guy that
that.
tried it, didn't do it. Tried it or threatened to try it. Was in the process of kind of like had the gun, was in a certain place, and then called and turned himself in, and got all his guns taken away and everything like that. Actually worked to get them all back again. Got married afterwards. Everything seemed great. And then got in an argument with his wife one day, and went into the garage and pulled it out just as recently and killed himself. He's friends with Gardner too. Really good friends with the Gardner. And I was, and it was one of those things where it's like, it was always kind of there, I think if you knew him, you knew that it was there, but you also hoped that it wasn't anymore, and I think that's just the reality of it. But
Yeah. One of my,
it's hard to do. I had a guy in the military, a kid that, when I was at AIT and when I was in AIT, at the schoolhouse, he, was out playing basketball with the other guys. Watched the video. He walks back to the hallway after the game, going to the barracks, walks into his room and laughing down the hallway, everything, and then doesn't show up to formation. And we go up to his room and he hung himself. So you would have never thought.
yeah, my experience
This
talking to
buddy-
my friend the day before.
RJ,
Yeah.
RJ.
I don't want to say names, but yeah.
Sorry.
We're speaking, everything's fine, planning to go to a Giants game the next day and meet up. That morning, he's asking somebody to drive him to work, and he's like telling him where to turn here, turn here. Turns into a BART station, just jumps out of the car and jumps in front of a BART train. And there was like, I spoke to him the night
Right.
before. Everything was good. He has a new girlfriend. He's getting a job. Things are going good. So it's hard to read when somebody's really in stress. Like, it sounded like for your friend, he was up here, right? He wasn't down here when he did it,
Right.
which is even weirder. Like,
And when he did try to do it, he was in the down.
yeah, he was
going through
down.
divorce,
Yeah.
and kids battle and everything like that, and so he was down, and so, but that's where I'm saying, yeah, it's like the seed is there, and it just is whether or not, and probably if there's constant like therapy and stuff to keep it down, maybe you can be successful, or if you beat the battle in your head. But I think that for some people that seed just sits there and keeps slowly sprouting until, everything lines up right, and they're just like, no, or they just feel like, I think for some people, they don't look at life. So everybody looks at life different, I think. And some people are very much cherishing of it. Like, no way do I want to go away. Like, no way. I think some people look at it as, I'm done doing this here. Let's see what's next.
Life's hard, man. I can't fathom you get to that point though. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, there are tough days. There's days that are tougher than others. Unfortunately, in the world that we're in, it seems like there's way more tougher days than there are easier days. But it is, I mean, that kind of gives you like grit. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't. There's so many weird things in this world. Like you said, like that seed that's sprouted. It's like these people that like these little child molesters. It's like, dude, how does that even compute into somebody's brain? Like my brain doesn't go to that place. Even watching something like I've tried to watch like those Datelines or 2020 or 60 Minutes on these people, like their train of thought, and I'm thinking, I don't process anything in that manner. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So
I was in a government building listening to something I want to protect when I'm saying to somebody that was going through the process of rehabilitation from being a child molester. And this guy was like doing everything he could right. Like he's checking all the boxes, and something stuck out in my mind. And they said he still gets arousal when he watches commercials with children in it. And I was like, the fuck? Like and this is a guy that's trying to do right. Like he
Going
is
through all
going through all the
things that
emotions.
to make him do.
And he's even telling you, like, I'm trying. When I see kids in commercials, I'm still getting aroused. It's just, I don't get the mental illness either. And that's like crazy.
At some point, I don't think there's a cure for something like that.
I don't think so either. And that's kind of,
You've
I
been
guess, what I was
Frustrated,
saying.
you've
Yeah.
done it, you've been guilty,
I just think
you don't. I don't think he deserves another chance.
Well, I think
Like,
that
I hate to be like that.
that's the
But at some
line.
point, like what?
It's like the line between animal and being actually like intelligent and being like having. We're all, we're animals just like, everything else out there on the earth in a sense. And so everything has this like, even as humans, as a man, you have this desire to go breed, right? It's a thing, as you grow up, you start to notice girls, before you gave two shits about it, you're more concerned about your G.I. Joe and what gun he had. And all of a sudden you're like, well, dang, you're like in 8th grade and you're like, that girl's kind of cute, or you start to feel something. And so I think that, but, I think the evolution of us, the way we are, we kind of start to create society, and you start to, I don't know, your brain evolves, and you go and you look at things and go, oh yeah, that doesn't make sense. Why? No, that's not right. And but I think some people's brains don't get to that point where they go, that's not right.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, for me, like, if I look at a little kid, I just see a little kid, because even, I've had people where it's like, oh, well, you're, they'll try to be like, well, like I've heard people where they say like, oh, a certain dad will lay down with his daughter in bed, like when she's sick. Right. And some people will be like, oh, that's just wrong. And to the point where at one point I used to look at it and be like, that kid seems a little old. The reality is, at the end of the day, that's just probably a dad just looking at his kid, and it's nothing more than that. But people look at it and they want to look at it as different. But the reality is, there are people out there that don't when they look at that kid, even dads, I'm sure, unfortunately, when they look at that kid, they don't just see another, like a little human being that they love and want to take care of. They see something that they need to, they see a chase there or something in their brain, which doesn't make any
They see vulnerability that they can
Vulnerability, yeah.
exploit.
Yeah.
That's what they see.
And that's the difference, right? So I just think it comes down to like some people's brains evolve to the point of you can act normal, you can act right, you can make the right decisions and not do but some people just, no matter what they do, I think it's just there.
This is,
The
child molestation is an epidemic that is not spoke about. At my job, every day there's probably 5 child molestation cases going on.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy to me.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
And they're just one
fucking-
by one by one, and they're family members of clergy, coaches. They're the people that are so close to you. And this is another one we don't even talk about. It. Nobody talks about this shit.
It's crazy.
Until it happens to your kid, nobody talks about it.
Well, it's actually crazy too. You meet a lot of adults, especially, and a lot of women, especially, but I'm not saying it doesn't happen to men, but I met a lot of women as adults that a lot of them have a backstory of some sort of abuse, some sort of molestation in some shape or form that has happened to them. And it's like, it's almost like crazy how many there are, it's like, really? And the craziest part about it is some families, it's like, it almost like there's like a cancer. There's either an entity or a person that's a cancer, and they're able to spread out and cut all the, like, multiple people in the family. And that's where it's even worse.
Our hardest
And that's where it comes down to, I think, that people they're not going, this guy
is fucked up.
is fucked up and he's not right.
There's
I don't
just
give a shit if his cousin Joe, but he's fucked up and he needs to he's not allowed to come over anymore or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, the people go, oh,
you got to salute the family that does that, because I've known families that have cut a motherfucker off. Like, you've crossed the line. This is it. Like, we're done with you.
yeah.
And, there needs to be more of that. But the hardest juries to gather is sexual abuse cases, because there's so many people that have had that in their life. Because we ask them, have you ever had this in your life? Half of the people have had some kind of, maybe more than half, have either had it done to themselves or somebody else. Yeah, and they can't be, and then their bias comes into question. So it's like so hard to gather a jury for that kind of crime.
Oh, I could imagine.
Because it's everywhere.
Especially nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that bias though?
What?
Do you agree with
That there is a bias?
Do you agree that those people just should be kicked out, or they should be like?
No, I think if they say they can be biased and not prejudge the situation, no, they shouldn't get kicked out. But that's the question you ask: can you be unbiased in the situation?
Yeah.
And a lot of people go, no, I can't. Like, no, I can't. Like, I see a child molester sitting there.
Totally.
Before I've heard what's happened, this guy is a molester, and I cannot get over that.
Which is totally understandable.
Yeah.
Especially if somebody's,
That would
especially if somebody's been affected by it or it's
Mhm.
actually happened to them. Like,
I've never been affected by it,
Mhm.
you know.
But then the question would be,
Never happened to me.
could you listen to the evidence and be unbiased? Could you,
Right.
Could you first hear the evidence?
but that's what he's saying in the sense of that, like, the guy could be innocent.
Mhm.
Right. And so what they're saying is because there is a lot of false things out there too. There is a lot that happens, but there's also a lot of false. So what he's saying is,
Yes.
can you
yes.
be biased enough to look at it and go, I don't think this guy did.
See,
You know what I mean?
child molestation, I don't think I could. I think I would go guilty would be my now if somebody, you know, vandalized something or something like that, then I could. But I think I have a protection on children. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want a child to be a child and enjoy life. And it just like infuriates me that people won't allow that to happen. And so I think I have that like dome around me or whatever to where I'd be like, no,
Could you look at the other way and say, hey, this could be the guy that has been, these charges are just made up, right? Could you think that? Like,
I could.
in all honesty, I don't. I hate to say that I would judge a book by the cover. And I know that's where, by me saying that I would judge this book by its cover is telling me that no, I couldn't. Even if he looked like an innocent, regular person, I would just be like, I don't.
here's the other part of it that I guess I'm not explaining well. We all have unconscious bias that we carry with us through life. The question would be, could you put that aside and still listen to the facts and, you know, and give this person a fair trial? Like, even though you're like this, you know, I hate fucking child molesters, and that's just, and this is a question we ask juries, but
Your bias would probably
so
be like,
there's so many people that can't now, right? Because they were
Is it like a
molested
guaranteed
or raped.
first time offender? Maybe.
Yeah, all we tell you is this person, you know, this person's here because they potentially touched a child, you know,
Yeah.
but I just want my client to have a fair trial. Could you set, you know, any of your biases aside to listen to make sure that the client didn't, you know, my evidence I'm giving you.
See, if I was told that, hey, first time offense or whatever, if this was, hey, I want my client to have a fair trial. This is his second time he's been on trial for fuck. I would be like, fuck.
They won't say that for
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, like, why waste my time? I would be like, no, motherfucker's guilty.
Yeah.
You put yourself in that position fucking twice. Get out of here.
and I can understand that.
You know what I'm saying? So
Well, I did think we kind of went off topic a little bit, but it's
You know what? I like the second half of this way better than the first half. I feel like
okay. It's okay. It's okay. Spiciness is good content. No, well, this is kind of, I'll do something lighter on the way out. If we're ready to wrap this up, I think.
I think we're ready to wrap it up.
yeah,
Go.
I'm done talking about
Done.
Kamala.
No, I'll
Yeah.
do something lighter.
And
I was going to say, I read this morning and I was like, you know, this is kind of one of those things where you think about it, you go, okay. It says, explain why our electric bills never decrease, even though we have swapped to all LED lights, Energy Star appliances, built massive solar and wind farms, but our energy bills just keep going up. I was like, that's a good thought. I don't know. Well, that's a good question because all those things go, it saves you $3 a year. It's like, not really, because they raise it $3 a year.
That is
more people,
So,
more homes, more
I-
electrical. Yeah,
So just great.
Yeah,
But-
yeah.
needs.
But okay, well, that was the Just Think About It podcast for today and for this week. And if you guys have any questions, comments, or would like us to talk about something in the future, please throw it in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you can.
Like and
We'd
subscribe,
appreciate that.
please.
And we'll catch you on the next one. Take it easy.
All right. Thank you.